Hey everyone, welcome. My name is Nick Gibson. Welcome to Hackers and Hooks. This is our 7th episode. We are going to be talking about Alan Scherr, the world's first computer troll. I'm Nick Gibson, amateur fisherman and CEO of Gibson Cyber, and as always, I have my co-host Isaac Reed with me.
Hi, my name's Isaac. I'm the hardware expert and COO of Gibson Cyber.
All right, so this week we're going to be rewinding. This week we're going to be rewinding back to 1962. We're going to be talking about the world's first computer troll and how he was able to hack in to MIT's systems using other people's passwords. And he's also the reason, his name is Alan Scherr, he's also the reasons why we have passwords to begin with. So we got him to thank for that. So we're going to break down how he exposed the weak passwords and why passwords are still the crux of all security operations to this day. So from dawn of trolling to today's password headaches, some problems never go away. All right. So to start our story off, we're going to talk about MIT's CTSS system. In 1962, the CTSS, which was the Central Time Server System, it was a timing system for people to utilize the large computers, because remember back in 1962, a computer was the size of a room, and they only had one computer, so everyone had to take turns doing calculations for their job. Imagine being a computer scientist, Isaac, in 1962 and going, man, I really want to learn about this computer. I have this program that I think will work. It's only going to take me about a week to get some time on the computer to test it out. And you only get one test.
Yeah, like I don't know what their time limits were back then. I would imagine they probably weren't long.
Oh, yeah, no.
And,
I mean, granted, there's not hundreds of students in the computer science program at MIT, but there's probably at least 100, more than 50, or at least staff as well as academia, as well, including that. So there's a lot of different accounts that are on these computers, and every time that a person needs to open up the computer to do their work, they use their account with their passwords, right? So Isaac, walk us through a little bit of how Alan kind of figured out and what he figured out about the passwords.
right, so it's like you were saying, this all started with the time sharing system, CTSS. It's what does it stand for? It was the Compatible Time Sharing System. Right, so Alan Scherr, a student at MIT, was messing around with essentially what happened is he realized that he could edit print jobs for every print job that went through to attach whoever's logged in's password to it. So
yeah,
every time someone would print out, one of their school papers, anything, right there at the end, it would throw out their username and password. Well, Alan, being the guy that he was, he's like, well, I'm using all of my computer time that I have. I could just use somebody else's. I got their password right here. Why not? So, I mean, it came out of necessity, or, well, I suppose it was necessity. He thought he needed more time, so he found the best way to do it. And at the time, it wasn't really sabotage. It wasn't really mischievous. It was just, and that was kind of the norm back then. If you're not exploring these systems and figuring out how you can exploit them, what you can do with them, then you're not really trying. It was kind of normal for the students, from what I understand.
yeah.
But him doing all this really opened up all of kind of led into today's access controls as a whole.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So, I mean, it really, like I said, it wasn't malicious, and I don't think it ever really got caught. People just kept finding their own passwords laying around the office and got suspicious.
Yeah,
I think he finally admitted to it later on.
He did, and I don't think he never got really got in trouble, but he was the start of MIT and the computer world itself talking about how password security should be a thing. I think at one point in time, I remember in the story that he had printed out all of the passwords, put them in like a table, and like put them up on like the corkboard or something like that for everyone in the school to see. That's wild, but it just goes to show people didn't even really think that information like that could be used in any sort of nefarious way.
Granted, at the time, it probably really couldn't have been.
I mean, honestly, what are you going to think about security for this giant computer that it takes a crane to lower into the building, and it's just, they're going to run computer programs on it? Most people don't even know how this computer works, let alone how they're going to load programs on it. So, I mean, yeah, go ahead.
He essentially just, instead of having one shared account, everybody's sharing everybody's accounts. That's essentially how that broke down.
And then they started to get problems with the timing share, like time sharing. People weren't getting the same amount. It wasn't a fair system anymore because everyone could do anything they want on everyone's time. So they would use up everyone else's time programmed by the system. And that was chaos. So there had to be a way to keep passwords quiet, keep passwords secure, because they are the weak point. They are the keys to the kingdom. And honestly, we're still fighting that same thing 60 years later. We're still doing this same thing. Everything is still password based. Yes, we've added some extra security layers. We've added multi-factor authentication. We've added this new passkey thing where it makes you log in with a physical device every time. But at the end of the day, a password or a string of characters and numbers is what allows you into any system in the world today. Any one of them.
Yeah,
If you have the right character, you can get in.
Yeah, I mean, this was, and him doing that, just printing out these passwords in plain text, that was the birth of your access controls, because, then you get into hashing, separation of privileges, auditing, your like security auditing, like operating system design, because, I mean, that's where he ultimately found the fault, was in the operating system.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and that all just opened it up, and that's transitioning to what we know today for access controls, whether it's, the biometrics on your iPhone or your Mac, where you thumbprint scanner, your Face ID. This all stems from this one event. This was the birth of it all. The first hack, essentially.
Yes, and they didn't even really do anything besides steal time, but in today's world, that could be a lot of money. Let's reverse it to today's world. Let's say that we're on AWS, and I'm able to get access to a bunch of accounts that I don't normally have access to, and I can start running machines on those AWS accounts. For those of you who don't know, AWS means Amazon Web Services. Just a couple weeks ago, Amazon Web Services went down, and we saw the rebound reflect of that happening throughout the internet. A lot of the internet started going down. I mean, imagine that happening. That happens all the time. You see AWS S3 buckets, which are servers that are storing information, open to the internet with no passwords all the time. It's a little less prevalent now because they're getting more security around it, but it still happens. And you and I know personally that a company could be very big and have lots of money coming in, and yet still have no security.
First-hand experience, absolutely. And I mean, that
Yes.
happens every day to somebody.
Yes.
Don't let it happen to you.
And this is the thing, though. This is where people don't realize, I think, that 99% of cybersecurity has to do with human beings. I've worked on some of the most expensive, most highly budgeted projects that are in our world today, working for the government. And I will take a really good user training program over all of that.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that far and away is your biggest issue, is going to be user input. I mean, you can make a machine flawless for the most part, as far as, access. People will find a way to screw it up.
Yes, and they always seem to do. Human beings are the crux of cybersecurity. So, all right, we're gonna shift a little bit before we get into our takeaways from today. I'm gonna shift a little bit to talk about our fishing story of the week. This week comes to you from my house. We were doing my son's birthday party. He turned 8. So what we ended up doing was having a fishing birthday party, and it was awesome. It was really cool. It was a lot of little kids, so everyone also caught each other. There was a lot of line tangles. There was a lot of, you're fishing in my spot, I'm fishing in your spot, that sort of thing. User behavior, user level tactics and problems that happen all the time. So it was really kind of like being a lot of parallels to me. I'm seeing all these people sort of trying to do their individual fishing jobs on this one platform while trying to share resources between the shrimp and the water and the poles and everything else. This is the same as when they were sharing the resources with the computer in 1962 at MIT. They were sharing resources that everyone had to use, because that's the technology of the day. And what Alan Scherr did was he went around and basically cut everyone's line right underneath the water, so it looks like, so they were thinking they were still fishing, and he's the only one with bait on it. That's essentially what happened. And I mean, I like to call these started calling these kids the naughty crew, like KNOTTY, because it was just so many tangles. I've never seen. It was just you fished with like, young kids, Isaac.
Oh, for sure.
They get
I can
knots
imagine.
that I didn't know how were made. I don't know how physically possible this knot was.
Yeah, I can imagine that many kids on that small of a dock would. Yeah. Granted, I'm 28 years old and still can't use a bait caster.
Yeah.
Can't do it. I've tried.
Oh no, I don't. I see. Bait casting, it takes the fun out of it for me because I gotta like figure out how to do it and how to work it, and it's gotta be. I like just being able to have a spinning rod and chuck it out there with my finger and
Nice and
whatever.
simple.
But yeah, these kids were on spinning rods. Some of them had the enclosed rods, and then I was also doing bamboo sticks too. So the $4 bamboo sticks you get at Walmart, and actually those caught really good fish because they're 10 foot long and you just can put it right out there. I think just like with just like with passwords, I think the simplest method to fishing ends up being the best method to fish.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that's a good analogy.
It was really fun. My son had a lot of fun that day, and then I think everyone caught fish. Mostly it was ladyfish, and one guy caught a amberjack, which is normally a reef fish, which I don't know why it was in my river, even though my river is, brackish water. We did catch a bunch of small pinfish, little ones. It was awesome. Everyone got something. And it was a good day. No one got a hook in the face, which is always a positive.
Yeah, been there, done that too. Yeah.
So I have these things. I was using these things that I found at Bass Pro Shop. They're all-in-one bobber and hook system for little kids. And what it is basically an eyelet that you tie your main line onto, and it's a single string that has a jig head at the bottom. And in the middle is a sliding bobber that has a hole in the bottom of it for the jig head to go up into it. So when they reel it up, the jig head goes into the bobber or goes towards the bobber, and then they don't have to. It's easier for them to cast. There's no hooks getting thrown around like that. It worked out pretty well.
And that plays into safety and why it's not safe to
print
out your passwords in plain text.
Yeah, don't print out your passwords in plain text. Don't just blindly throw a hook around and while you're casting. All these things are ill-advised. Okay, so let's go with our overall lessons learned from both today's both of today's story. So remember that preparation is the key. Like before I started the fishing trip, I went and got all the lines prepared and started, even though they tangled up almost immediately. I got them prepared and everything. And that is where the MIT needed to do too. They needed to prepare their network for this new password policy. It wasn't just everyone has this plain text password that's stored in this plain text system. They started to add more security to they were not prepared at all. They started to add more security and started to talk about bringing security to the table and what that looks like in terms of IT. So before we head out for the day, I wanted to give Isaac one last chance to kind of regale us with any sort of cool tidbits from the story, and then we'll kind of take it out.
Sure. So, you can really thank Alan Scherr for playing around where he wasn't supposed to and making our lives harder by password requirements. That's what it all boils down to. Now, because he did what he did, your password probably shouldn't be whatever day of the week it is, right? It shouldn't be your pet's name.
Yes, and I think it put a lot more work on IT people than anyone actually knew. Everyone's, now people are going to have to memorize these passwords, but the IT guys are going to have to figure it out after you forget your password, and then we have to reset it.
Most of my IT career has probably been this is a great combination of the two things I hate the most is resetting people's passwords and printers.
Yeah.
Printers are the bane of my existence.
Yeah.
That pretty well sums up like my early IT career. It was fixing printers and changing people's passwords.
And we're talking about going to Mars.
Yeah.
And we can't even figure out printers. Like maybe we should take a step back and work on that first.
Yeah. Why don't we perfect what we have?
Right.
It's never
all
enough.
right, everyone. Thanks so much for your time tonight. It was a pleasure. Look for us on the next episode of Hackers and Hooks, where we're going to talk about WannaCry ransomware and how that sort of played out in the late teens of the 2000s. All right, so thanks everyone. Hope you have a good rest of your day. I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for watching.